All right, what is up, Bulldogs? I've got another question for you. And this one, someone asked me, they said that I have two topics, if that's okay. This is someone who filled out the survey. So here's your video. He says here, number one, when is it okay to lie? For example, in a job interview or in dating. And two, the importance of having kids. All right, so let's talk about when is it okay to lie? And he said, for example, in a job interview or dating. Those are not the places to lie. Have I lied? Yeah. Oh man, I had a, there was a good period where I was living a double life and I had to lie to a lot of people. Not a good choice. Not a good choice. I'll tell you, at the time, it didn't really matter that much, but the fallout of that, right? I didn't even get caught in the lie. Didn't even get caught in a lie. I confessed it because I had to get past it and move on with my life. And so lying doesn't harm other people directly. It indirectly does, but it harms you. It harms your soul. It causes you that harm. And so there are times where you would fabricate the truth, because again, we're not talking about the absolute letter of the law, never ever lie. We're talking about the principle of deception. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about lying. And so let's give some of the examples that you said here. Should you lie on a job interview? No, absolutely not. Can you rearrange the facts in order to make yourself look good, to present yourself in the best light? Of course, you can do that. But I've coached a lot of guys. We talk about jobs. I help them get jobs. I always tell them, look, we're not going to be lying on your resume. We're going to tailor resume and cover letter to the job description, but we're not going to lie in that process. We're going to utilize what you have as much as possible and tailor it towards that. But lying's not a good idea there. And you know, you might think, oh, well, I just want to get my foot in the door. How do you get experience if you don't have experience? Look, there's ways to do it without lying. For example, start your own company. Anyone can do that. You can create an app, put it in the app store, whatever it is, consulting business. You don't have to even make money, but you can come and work for your own company and put that on your resume and put it on your LinkedIn. And hey, if they ask about it, don't volunteer the details, but if they ask about it, you can say, hey, well, yeah, it is my company. I did create the company and this is what our services were. And if they really ask about it, like, did you sell anything or make any money? Then yeah, you have to tell them the truth about that. But most people aren't going to ask. You can do things like that are not lying, that are not deceptive. And again, you have to your own judgment of where it makes sense. Like, are you actually being deceptive? Are you actually deceiving? Right? And what is the purpose behind it? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you defrauding someone? Are you trying to gain something that you don't deserve? Because there are situations where not telling the full truth might be the right choice, where it is not deceptive, where it is not for an ill-gotten gain, where it's not for something that's going to harm someone and help you. So for instance, let's say that you're in some kind of, we could do a philosophical situation where your life was threatened and someone is like, I'm going to kill anyone who likes the color red. What's your favorite color? And your favorite color happens to be red. I think if you say green, reasonable, makes sense. Why make a foolish choice, right? So the principle would fall apart in that case if you said never ever fabricate, never ever don't tell the truth. I think it's about the principle. It's about the idea behind it. Is what are you trying to accomplish here? And most of the time when we're talking about lying and the reasons why we lie, it's in order for us to gain something for ourselves at the expense of another person. And that's really the principle that we're looking at here. And again, you got to think about, what does this do to my own soul? What does it do to myself? What does it do to my integrity? How do I feel about myself? How do I sleep at night? That's what I would look at. And again, like I said, you're talking to a man who told many lies to many women, all right? And many people that were around him because he had to in order to keep the story straight. And there's a lot of fallout from that. Most of it was internal. Most of it was realizing the damage and the destruction that my lies did and the betrayal that people felt that were close to me and the harm that I did with that. But it's a dangerous path to go down. You talk about dating, definitely not in dating. If it's a small kind of thing that's inconsequential, isn't going to matter that much, yeah, it's not a big deal. But when we're talking about serious things, don't do it. It's just not worth it. It'd be better to have open, honest relationship, because once you cross that line, you can't go back. You know what I mean? Like, you either have to come clean or you got to keep it forever. And sometimes keeping the thing forever, it's going to plague you every single day. You're going to wake up, you're going to feel it, you're going to know it. You're going to wish that you had never created it in the first place, because you got to kill it or release it, or you got to keep it locked up. And keeping it locked up is a hard choice. And there are some lies that you will tell that you'll never be able to escape from. So don't do it in the first place. In fact, don't do the things that you would have to lie about. That's maybe the better lesson there, if there is one. Now we talk about the importance of having kids. Your second question, you only get one, but I'll give you two. I gotta tell you, I would say it's up to you. There's plenty of people that would tell you, oh yeah, you got to have kids and stuff. But I've got a daughter. I love my daughter. She's amazing. I wouldn't obviously change history, but I think you can be happy without kids. I don't think you necessarily need kids. There's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of things in your life that having a child will prevent you from doing. Would I have made potentially different choices in my life? I'll be honest and say that I would have. But knowing my daughter and loving her, I would obviously never give that up. But had I not known, then perhaps I would. You see what I'm saying? Is like, so the biggest thing about this is what you have to understand is that this is a choice that you have to make for yourself. And it shouldn't be one that your parents make. It shouldn't be one that anyone else makes. I mean, if you're married, if you have a wife, you got to make that choice together. I wouldn't want to deprive someone from their opportunity to have kids. So you got to think about that as well. But whatever comes in life, you're going to have to just play the game. So whether you do, whether you don't, there's so many choices in life that people are like, oh, well, this would be better. This would be better. The grass is always greener on the other side. You're always going to think, oh, if you have kids, you're going to think, oh, what would my life be like if I didn't have kids? If you don't have kids, you're going to wish that you have kids. If you don't get married, you're going to think, what would it be like if I did? If you do get married, you're going to think, what would it be like to be single? Whatever it is, you have to recognize that even though these choices seem like they're so consequential, they're not as consequential as you might think, because you're going to have to play the ball where it lies. So make your choice. Don't let someone else pressure you into it. Don't let society or what you feel like you should do pressure you. But the one thing I would have you think about is, what will your life be like when you're older? Do you enjoy having a family? Do you enjoy Thanksgiving and the holidays? And what will happen if you're experiencing that alone? Because as you get older, I'm an older man now. I'm 44 years old. People start dying, My mom passed away a couple years ago from Parkinson's. It was horrible. I had to watch her die for 10 days. My dad's getting older. He got remarried, and yeah, that's crazy, but I don't see him that much anymore. I don't really live near much family. A lot of things have changed in my life, and the family that you have now, if you don't create your own, someday you won't have it. And so I'm not saying that that's necessarily a horrible thing. I'm not saying you can't live your life that way, but you got to think about it. You got to at least think about it and got to realize there might not be a Thanksgiving with people gathered around the table anymore. It might not be the case anymore as your parents pass, and maybe the relatives that you visited and stuff pass away, and then it's just you, maybe just you and your wife, and maybe that's okay. And hey, I think I could be okay with that, but you got to kind of decide for yourself. But you should think about those things, because those are the biggest impact, right? You have children, and then you're going to recreate that cycle, and you're going to be able to have those gatherings, and that will go on. But if you don't, then it will end. And again, like I said, maybe you just hang out with friends, maybe you just have your wife, and that's enough. But you got to think about these things. If you got a question for me, email me at john@bulldogmindset.com. I'll see you tomorrow.